is how we like to communicate our thoughts and feelings, stories that can make you relate. And we talk to some cool people we met on the way. So thanks for tuning in. We hope that you like your stay.
Hi, I'm Hannah.
Hi, I'm Mel,
Hi, I'm Ella.
and welcome to another episode of Girl Stuff. Today, we are joined by a young British filmmaker, Ella Greenwood. Ella, instead of me giving an introduction on who you are, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, I'm a filmmaker, so writer, director, producer, and I have my own production company, Broken Flames Productions, which is focusing on a slate of mental health-based projects because mental health is something that I'm really passionate about.
Before we go deeper into what you do and what you create, what is one thing you did during quarantine that otherwise you wouldn't have had time to do?
I guess watch a lot of TV shows. I think sometimes, I don't know, I just get distracted. Like I won't be watching it properly. I'll be on my phone, I'll be working. But two TV shows that I've watched are New Girl and the US Office, and they've been recommended to me pretty much all of my life. And I just never got around to watching them. But yeah, I've watched them, and I loved them. So that was pretty good use of my time.
I love that. Okay, starting off with like you as a director, you have a production company called Broken Flames. What inspired you to create it?
Well, when I decided to start making films, I just thought I want to do it properly. I didn't want it to just be this random teenager like saying, oh, I'm going to make films and I want to make a career out of it. So I thought, well, let me take it seriously. Let me open up my own production company. And like I always sort of think of it as having a home for all of my films and something that I can a place to put them. And I think it just makes it more professional, really.
What would you say is your favorite thing about producing/directing?
Producing can be really stressful. Can be so overwhelming, but I love, I feel like directing is just so fun. I absolutely love directing. I love working with actors and really bringing a story to life. But producing is so much that too. Like it's getting to choose sort of where you shoot, and I love being able to choose who's involved with the project, who I get to work with, and who I bring on set. And yeah, I love both. I love sort of working on each different aspect because they're so different, but it brings the story all together.
Yeah, and you've worked on multiple sets. What would you say has been the funniest or most memorable moment on a set?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I've loved every single set that I've been on. Like it's so fun. My favorite place to be is on set. I'd say something that made me laugh is that when I shot my film Self Charm, it follows a girl and basically a plant. The plant is a key feature, and we were shooting at a location, and this cat randomly appeared. Like it was the location owner's cat, and we just didn't know anything about it. And it started eating the plant. And luckily we had like two, but I was like, oh my god, this random cat is eating basically the star of our film. But we did get a few shots of the cat because the cat was just so cute. It was called Coco, and yeah, it was a bit unexpected, but
Your work has been featured by Deadline, Huffington Post, BBC, Yahoo, and much more. How has it been having such accredited work being created?
I guess for me, it's quite nice to have that validation as such, because if not, it can feel like I'm just sat at home with a film that's just a file on a computer, and I don't know how many people have seen it or what. I don't know. It's just quite nice to have that validation and I mean, these are publications that I've loved and know so much about. So it's really great.
Yeah, and you've made multiple shorts that have been either sponsored, nominated, or even picked up by multiple studios. What has that feeling been like?
Um, yeah, like my first short, 40 Roots, is now being developed into a feature, and yeah, that's lovely because I didn't have any clue that I was going to continue filmmaking after Faulty Roots. It was just sort of like, I'm going to try and make a short film. Like, I don't have any experience of filmmaking, but I'm just going to give it a go and try and do my best. So to sort of be working on developing that even further is amazing, and to sort of expand on the conversation brought up from that film has been really nice.
Yeah, and you have had a lot of experience in producing and co-producing short films. Can you tell us a little bit about that role?
Producing, it's such a hard thing to define because it's just everything. Like, there's so much to think about, and often it's quite hard because pieces can only fall into place after you've done this, and sometimes it's hard to do like that. It's just, there's so much work involved with producing. You're literally putting all the pieces together and in charge of everyone, and just making sure that it's seen through from start to finish. But I do love that because I love a variety of things. Like, I love all the different tasks, and yeah, just the range of things that you have to do to produce.
Yeah, and you've mentioned that you have many roles: producing, directing, script writing. What would you say is your favorite role?
Oh, I think directing. Directing is just fun. Like, I absolutely love directing. Whereas producing can be stressful at times, and with writing it can be frustrating if you can't think of what to say here or what to do. But I just love directing. I find it so fun.
And many of our listeners have an interest of getting into the film industry. What is like one tip that you would give someone who wants to venture into film, whether it's producing, directing, acting, or even script writing?
Just that you don't have to have any experience to just go for it and build up that yourself. Like, if you want to write, there's free script writing programs and competitions. Enter those, write scripts. If you want to direct, like, film stuff on your phone, get some actors involved. And with producing, like, you just do it. Like, I don't know, it's just having the confidence to do that and to just try it out and keep going.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think one of the major things is to just keep going, right? You don't always succeed at first, but eventually you will succeed. So it takes a few faulty errors for you to actually get to where you want to be, I think. Um, so we're gonna get into a little bit of heavier topics. The first question I have for you is, the entertainment industry and the media industry is a little brutal, in the sense of there's a lot of comparison, there's a lot of competition. So how do you deal with the struggle of comparing yourself to others, whether it's other directors or producers or writers or people in the industry itself?
I think just remembering that the industry is so sort of undefined. Like, people have so many different roles. Some people write and direct, some people direct and produce, some people do lighting and direct. Like,
Mhm.
there's no set way for you to go, for you to get into the industry, for you to progress. Like, it's just, each project varies so much, and so it doesn't make sense for you to compare yourself
Mm.
to anyone else, because everyone is so different and there's so much that you can do. And some people start writing and directing later on in life, some people start early. Like, it really doesn't matter. It's just making sure that you're passionate about what you're doing and that you're telling stories that you want to tell.
Yeah. I love that, and I think it's important to, I've been saying, your life is like a play, and you've been cast as the main character. So why are you trying to recast yourself? And a couple of people are like, oh, that's kind of cool. I'm like, yeah, I mean, when you think of it, you're the main character of your own life. So why are you recasting yourself to try to fit into whatever you think should be the main character? And it's a good kind of look on life. What you said, that everyone starts off somewhere. So why are you trying to compare to yourself to someone who might have been in the field for 30 years and you're just starting out? Doesn't exactly work, because there's a lot of experience that comes with doing anything really in our world today. Where do you find inspiration, and empowerment in such a competitive field?
It is just finding those stories that you want to tell, because your passion means a lot more than other people's. Like there are so many people in the industry, and you only have to sort of find, you can get rejected by so many, but it's only, you only need a few, you only need a few yes. And it's, if you're passionate about it, then just using that passion to continue going and driving it forward, and searching for other people that you really want to work with.
Yeah. Do you ever kind of experience performance anxiety in the sense of, you're worried maybe something isn't gonna work out the way that you want it to, or potentially messing up while producing or directing or even writing?
Yeah, I think the main part is producing, because it's, there are always so many factors
Mhm.
coming into it. Like, you might not get cast, someone might pull out last minute, a crew might pull out last minute, like there might be a problem with
Yeah.
the location, like with the equipment. There's just so much that you have to be in charge of, but that you can't control as such. Like you
Hmm.
can't, if someone randomly decides to get ill, or if something just goes wrong, you can't control that. But it's just
Yeah.
about being able to adapt, and yeah, it's definitely stressful. Like, I producing is stressful. Like if anyone tells you that it's not, then they're lying. But it's also so rewarding, and so it's still fun. And yeah, it's just been able to sort of balance that.
Hmm. Yeah, Mel and I are both photographers, so in the sense of producing, like I kind of get it because I'm like, you have this idea of how you want the photo to turn out, so you're taking in, the lighting and the location and the people in front of the camera and everything into account so that you can get that shot that's in your head. And I mean, for producing, it's a larger scale than just one shot. It's a whole movie or short film or show. But it's the same sense of being aware of your surroundings and kind of adapting to what's happening around you. Because otherwise, if you just sit there and you're like, well, they pulled out, guess we can't do this anymore, it's a waste
Yeah.
of everyone's time, right? So definitely being adaptable and flexible, I think, is super important, in life as well as just the media industry. um, you're a female producer, a young female producer and director. What are some of the challenges that you faced having been, a female trying to make a mark in the media industry?
uh I don't know. I feel like being able to produce, I'm really fortunate that I can choose to work with people that I know sort of
Hmm.
respect me in that sense, and want to work with me, and don't treat me any less because of who I am.
Hmm.
But yeah, there are definitely, it's just hard sometimes. Like I remember going to like a networking event, and just some of the people there, like I was so uncomfortable, and also like so patronized, and
Hmm.
like I was just like, oh god, like, and that was one of the first sort of events that I went to, and I was like, I know this is what it's gonna be like. Oh my gosh. But there are always going to be people like that, that yeah, don't take you seriously, or just don't appreciate what you're doing and what you want to do. But again, like they're just not important. It's just finding the people that are, and then sticking with them, really.
Hmm. I love that. It's definitely important to remember that not everyone's going to be your friend, not everyone's going to be your best friend, but you got to find people who support you and take you on as you without wanting you to change, to keep them in your life, and you'll be a lot more successful than being surrounded with people who are constantly putting you down or constantly kind of finding the flaws in everything that you do. But talking about, flaws in other people who put you down, rejection's a big part of the entertainment industry as a whole.
Mm.
How do you deal with rejection, or how can one kind of learn to deal with rejection?
It's so hard, and there's more rejection than there is acceptance, but it's just moving on. Like it's just sort of going, okay, that sucks, but you never know what's around the corner. And that's something that I love about the industry. Like you don't know what opportunities are going to come, or what you're going to be doing next, or what's going to come to you. And so it's just putting it behind you, like just going, okay, moving on. Like, and trying to focus on what's next and always
Yeah.
looking forward.
Mhm. Love that. I love that. Move on, keep going. Like, one no is not going to be the end all of your life and your career. And I think everyone needs to hear that, especially in the world that we live in now. That's very confusing and restricted, is how I like to put it. So let's kind of switch gears and talk about mental health. You're a big mental health advocate. You campaign for better representation in the media for mental health. What sparked this passion?
So I struggled with my mental health as a young teen, and I didn't know what I was going through at all, because it wasn't something that was talked about or shown or just mentioned even. And then, the more I started to sort of realize what I was going through, and the representation of it in the media and the stigma attached, it made it so much worse. It really did. And even like continuing on, like growing up with that, like I've seen so many negative portrayals in the media
Mhm.
and work that, you know, been shown to have triggered people or romanticized suicide or influenced them or made their mental health worse. And it's just like, well, that can't be a thing. Like if something does more harm than good, like why why does it exist?
Mhm.
So yeah, like that's what I really want to try and change, and just bring a more normal and supportive representation of mental health.
Mhm. I think the one thing that you said is, there's always a stigma around mental health. There's always like, it has to be this way and it's so negative and it's it's a bad thing type of thing. That's kind of how it tends to be portrayed. But I do think, the notion of it's okay to not be okay, and the notions of everyone has bad days sometimes, everyone struggles, everyone's going through stuff, and it's okay to go through stuff, and you're allowed to go through, you're human, you're supposed to feel. So I think seeing a better representation of mental health in the media definitely will help other people who, just like just like you said, you didn't know what you were going through, but then being able to portray that in a way that other people can relate, I think is super, super important. So yeah, so your first short film was Faulty Roots, which follows a girl with depression. Can you tell us a little bit about this film?
Yeah, so it follows a teenage girl with depression, whose mother tries to just cheer her up, and does this by making her reconnect with an overly positive childhood friend. So it's putting those two together and, watching their friendship blossom. And just, yeah, I just wanted to sort of share some of the more normalized experiences that the
Mhm.
girl goes through, and things that people do around her that are helpful and things that are harmful. Yeah.
Yeah. Why do you think it's important for mental health to be properly portrayed? Not just, in your work, but just in the media, on social media, in life. Why is it important that it's properly portrayed?
It's, the media has such an impact on everyone's lives. Like it's crazy how much of a difference it can make and how much it can influence people's opinions and views, like whether they realize it or not. And so anything that you put out there in the media, you don't know who it can affect and what
Yep.
influence or impact it can have. And so you have to make sure that what you put out there is accurate, and it represents what you want to properly, and that it helps people really.
We've kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, but I mentioned this idea that people need to fit into this box, or they feel like they need to fit into this box that society tells them they need to be. Specifically, things like Instagram, where it's like, oh, this many likes, or it comes down, or this many followers, or I just stop posting, or I need to look this way. And I think social media does affect everyone in, excuse me, in multiple ways. So what advice would you give someone who's currently struggling with their mental health, especially taking in COVID and quarantine and life right now?
It's so important to accept that you are struggling, that sometimes you need to take a step back, you need to take a break, you need to just almost process what you're going through. So many people who are struggling with their mental health they just carry on as if nothing's wrong, but it's
Mhm.
like if you wouldn't do that if you hurt like your foot, or if it was something physical. You'd be like, okay, this is different, like I need to sort this out, I need to do what I can to get better. But with mental health, it's just like so many people feel like they don't have that option
Mhm.
to take the time to themselves and to get better. And then it's also realizing that you can get better, and that it's like nothing is permanent. So you just have to take it. If you have to take it hour by hour, day by day, then that's what you've got to do.
Yeah, and I think, like one of the things is mental health, you don't see it, right? So you don't really think of it as something that needs to be fixed. It's not like when your phone stops working, or like you said, when you break your foot, where it's like, I gotta get this checked out. Because you can't see it, you could just be like, oh, maybe I'm just, having an off day, and just kind of put it off to the side. But then multiple off days start to happen. Um, and you state that not giving up is the most important thing you can do. How has it been trying to make such an impactful change in an industry that's kind of just always been? Um, yeah, that's really the only way we can put it.
Yeah, I don't know, the industry can be so rigid and structured, and only benefits certain people who maybe have connections or influences,
Yeah.
or the stability to keep going in an industry that is based so much on rejection. And like there are so many amazing programs that help people get into the industry, and there are so many people who are willing to give time and to mentor and to give advice and to have shadows and trainees. And also it's like you don't have to follow a set path. Like you don't have to go to film school and then graduate and do a short that goes around festivals. Like if you just want to start by making films on your phone and then putting them on YouTube, or doing this or that, like you know that's what you can do. Like it's sort of
Mhm.
up to you, and you define what the industry means to you. Like you don't have to think of a set way of joining the industry as such, because if you're
Yeah.
making films, then you're making films.
Hmm. I love that.
Going off of the heavy stuff, let's go into some fun questions that we like to ask to get to know you a little bit better as a person. One question I love to know is, if you had to pick a song to play every single time you enter a room to sort of introduce you, which song would it be and why?
Oh my gosh, that's so difficult. um I it's the cringiest thing, but one of my favorite ever songs. It's called I think it's called I Will Get Back Up Again. It's literally from the Trolls soundtrack. And me and my friends and like my sister, we're obsessed with Trolls. It's just one of my favorite films, and that song, like it's such a happy song for me. And it just like I've been rejected so many times, and it's from acting from a young age and auditioning for like a decade now, my life has just been filled with rejection. So having a song that's so like upbeat and like it's like I will get back up again, like I have to, I think that just it's just something that I really kind of relate to, and then it's like, okay, like let's keep going then, which that's probably the cringiest song ever mentioned on the podcast though.
No, I love that song. I love that. We talked a lot about what you do and your career, but if you didn't have the career you do now, what would you be up to right now?
Oh, well, to be honest, I'm 19, so I'd probably be at university, which, you know, I love the idea of university. I think it would be an amazing way to just meet new people. And I don't know what I'd be studying. I guess if it wasn't anything to do with film, it'd probably be maybe psychology. I did psychology A level, or I used to love like microbiology. So one of those two probably.
Completely different than the film industry, like the other
Yes.
side.
Okay, and the last question to sort of end this interview is, what is the most useless talent that you have?
It's being able to write and read Viking runes. So I don't know if you know what runes are. Like, it's a form of like an alphabet that uses symbols, and that, yeah, like not many people know how to read or write, because it's just absolutely useless unless you're like a historian or something. I just thought it would be really cool to be able to read and write, so I've sort of been able to do that most of my life in runes. So yeah, it's really useless though.
Well, at
That's
least
fair.
now we know if we ever find a document to send it over to you too.
Yes,
And sing for
definitely.
us. But I think that has to be the best useless talent I have heard yet. Well, Ella, thank you so much for joining us. I love hearing more about women who do way much more than what is ever thought of when it comes to making a mark in our world. And I'm excited to see how much of an impact you will have on the industry through the way that you do your films, through the way that you produce. And I can't wait to see you on a big screen one day. Like, that's what I'm excited for, is to be like, I know her, and I'm so excited to see that. And being such a big advocate for mental health, I think, is super important, especially with COVID and quarantine, where no one's able to actually figure out what their emotions and their thoughts are. So, I will find that Faulty Roots film. I will find it somewhere, and I will watch it, because I think it's important to see, what does it actually mean to get up and keep going, um, because it's important. So thank you so much. Loved chatting with you. You are such an amazing and wise young woman, and I'm telling you, I'm 25 and I'm like, what am I doing with my life? But no, but you're such a you're amazing, and thank you for just coming to talk to us.
And that's girl stuff.